On a cold, silent night, when the city seemed indifferent to human suffering, a young woman walked through deserted streets with a heavy heart. In her pocket she carried only a single coin, the last reminder of a difficult day, where hunger and uncertainty were her only companions. Then she saw an old woman lying on the dirty ground, wearing torn clothes and with eyes filled with despair. The beggar stretched out her hand, pleading for help. The young woman hesitated, for that coin was all she had left, but something inside her spoke louder. With tears in her eyes, she reached out and gave away her last possession, not knowing that this act would mark the beginning of a life-changing destiny. What she didn't know was that the beggar wasn't just any stranger. Behind the torn clothes and the weary look hid a woman with a powerful secret. She was the mother of one of the most influential men in the country, the CEO of a vast corporation. When the beggar received the coin, she didn't just feel the weight of the metal, but also the warmth of a kindness she had long forgotten. That night, the beggar vanished without saying a word, leaving only the memory of her piercing eyes. Days later, the young woman was startled when men in suits knocked on her door, carrying with them a revelation that would change her fate forever. The CEO, a man known for his coldness in business and his unbreakable heart, had been informed about the young woman's gesture. He could not believe that, in a society so harsh and indifferent, someone had offered her last coin to help his mother. Curious and moved by gratitude, he decided to meet her personally. Seeing the simplicity of her home and the struggles she endured, something inside him broke. For the first time in years, he felt genuine compassion. In that moment, he realized he could not let her sink into oblivion. He offered her an opportunity, a job in his company, with the promise of stability and a chance to rebuild her life. But this new chapter did not come without trials. Inside the company, many employees refused to accept that a girl with no degree or connections could hold an important position. She became the target of scornful glances, whispered rumors, and even traps to make her fail. Yet every time she thought of giving up, she remembered the look of the beggar and the strength she felt when she gave away her last coin. That memory was like a flame pushing her forward. The CEO, observing from a distance, saw something rare in her: courage and kindness the corporate world had long forgotten. And the more he watched her grow, the more certain he became that she was no ordinary employee. In time, the young woman proved her worth. She showed loyalty, honesty, and determination. Projects once destined to fail began to thrive under her leadership. Clients trusted her, and co-workers who once mocked her became her allies. With each victory, her image grew not only within the company, but also in the CEO's heart. He didn't just admire her. He began to wonder if destiny had placed her in his path for a greater reason. That single coin had set in motion a chain of events neither of them could have foreseen. The climax arrived when the truth was revealed. The young woman discovered that the beggar she had helped with her last coin was the CEO's mother. The shock was immense, but the revelation gave deeper meaning to her journey. She realized it was no accident. It was as if life itself had prepared a meeting of souls, a test of compassion that led her to a new future. The CEO, deeply moved, declared that he had decided not only to change her life, but to protect her as someone who had become essential. At that moment, she understood that true kindness does not only transform those who receive it, it transforms those who give it. The following weeks brought changes the young woman had never imagined. Her small room, once lit only by a weak candle, now shone with the brightness of hope. The job gave her not only resources, but dignity. Yet every step inside that corporate universe reminded her she had to prove her worth. Many still saw her as an intruder. But with resilience, she faced each obstacle as proof that she was meant for something greater, something she didn't yet fully understand. The CEO, meanwhile, battled inner conflict. In a world where people only approached him for interest, it was hard to believe in someone so genuinely kind. Investigating her past, he discovered a life of hunger, sleepless nights, and painful sacrifices. Each detail moved him. For the first time, the man who ruled an empire felt his wealth meant nothing compared to the greatness of a simple act. She reminded him of what truly mattered: humanity, long buried beneath luxury and power. As she advanced in her journey, the CEO's mother began to recover. He had taken her off the streets and placed her under care. Their reunion was emotional, filled with tears and forgiveness. She revealed her struggles, her mistakes, and how that coin had rekindled her faith. The young woman was invited to meet her again, and when their eyes locked, silence filled the room. They were no longer just benefactor and beggar, they were two souls connected by fate, standing at the threshold of a story still unfolding. But fate never spares those who challenge it. A scandal arose around the company. Rivals spread lies that the young woman was only an adventurer protected by the CEO. Rumors claimed she sought only power and wealth. These whispers spread quickly, threatening her reputation and all her efforts. Once again, she faced the temptation of surrender. But the CEO stood firm. In a tense meeting, before everyone, he declared words that shook the room. She has more value in her honesty than many here with prestigious diplomas and last names. His words caused an impact, but also fueled hatred. Plots emerged to take down the CEO and remove her from the company forever. Yet she refused to be intimidated. Using intelligence and empathy, she turned colleagues into allies. Projects long abandoned flourished under her leadership, forcing even her critics to acknowledge her worth. Her kindness became a force that silently reshaped everything around her, like an invisible current none could resist. Meanwhile, the CEO felt trapped by emotions he never thought possible. Surrounded by masks and false smiles, he found in her not just a worker, but an inspiration. She carried a light that illuminated the darkest corners of his soul. But fear haunted him, fear that such purity would be crushed by the cruel world. Could he protect her, not just from enemies, but from the merciless grind of ambition? Each day, their bond deepened, as if destiny itself had etched a line they could not erase. The story reached its peak when the company faced its worst crisis. A billion-dollar contract was about to collapse under sabotage, and all responsibility fell on her. Many expected failure, but against all odds, she saved the day. With simple, clear ideas, she overturned disaster and secured the company's survival. That day, in front of astonished executives, the CEO declared that the corporation owed its future to her courage. It was a moment that marked not just a turning point for the company, but for their lives as well. The final revelation came during a special ceremony. The CEO, in front of everyone, revealed the truth about his mother and the coin. He confessed that without her kindness, he might never have reunited with his mother or rediscovered his own humanity. The hall fell silent, absorbing the weight of his words. The young woman, overwhelmed with emotion, realized that her small act had triggered a revolution that touched lives, hearts, and destinies. And so, from the cold of the streets to the light of admiration, her story became an eternal symbol of how genuine kindness can change the course of lives. It wasn't the coin that transformed everything. It was her courage to choose compassion when she herself had nothing. The CEO, now a renewed man, not only protected her, but placed her at his side as someone indispensable. And for all who heard their story, one truth became inescapable. Sometimes the smallest gesture can spark the greatest revolution. As months passed, her story began to spread far beyond the company walls. Magazines, newspapers, and TV shows spoke of the girl who changed an empire with one coin. She became an inspiration to ordinary people who believed their kindness went unnoticed. The company itself changed its values, embracing humanity and social responsibility. Charity projects flourished under her influence, and employees once skeptical became eager participants. It proved that true change was not in one act alone, but in its power to multiply. Yet the greatest transformation was not financial, nor social. It was personal. The young woman, who once wandered the streets without purpose, now walked with meaning. At the CEO's side, she found not only a protector, but a partner who saw in her simplicity the strength the world lacked. His mother, now healed, embraced her as the daughter she never had. Together, they formed a new family knot, bound by blood, but by destiny and compassion. From a single act of kindness was born a revolution of love, humanity, and hope. A timeless reminder that in a cold world, one flame is enough to break the darkness. The young woman's impact did not stop there. Inspired by everything she had experienced, she began developing initiatives both inside and outside the company that connected people in vulnerable situations. Each action seemed small, but carried the same power as her first coin. Her story became a living example of how a simple act can trigger waves of change. People who once felt powerless began to believe they could also transform the world around them. Following the courage and kindness she had demonstrated, the CEO watched every move with a mixture of admiration and pride. He realized that protecting the young woman was not just a matter of gratitude or moral duty, but a recognition that she had become the true leader the company needed. With her, projects thrived, workplace morale improved, and the corporation gained a new soul. He also began to open up, sharing personal stories, fears, and dreams, showing that even powerful men need humanity to survive. Together, they formed an unlikely but unstoppable duo, where influence, compassion, and vision intertwined, demonstrating that improbable destinies can create extraordinary impact. Finally, the young woman became a global symbol of hope. People from different cities and countries learned her story, and her example inspired others to act with empathy in their daily lives. The CEO, his mother, and the young woman formed not just a family, but a chain of transformation reaching every corner of the world. She never felt alone again, and those who had once doubted her power became her followers and allies. The ultimate lesson echoed loud and clear. True kindness, even in the smallest gesture, can change not only one life, but create a ripple effect of transformation that spreads infinitely, reminding everyone that every compassionate choice has the power to rewrite destiny.